right, here we are.
And we're back.
Repping the New Mexico shirt.
I know. I decided to bust that out. Little track and field throwback shirt. So,
Nice, dude.
you know, every once in a while I got to break it out of the closet.
Nice.
Wish I was in New Mexico today because it's raining on and off here today, but it's nice and bright and sunny and warm there. So
Gotta love June.
just got to go there in this. I know. That's why I woke up this morning. I was like, it's June, but it doesn't look like June. It doesn't feel like June. But the benefit is right now we're in stage 1.5, whatever that means.
1.5, baby.
So we're in like what 25% capacity for restaurants and bars and stuff. So businesses are starting to get back open, which is a good thing. Hopefully,
well, we can do outdoor workouts in this.
yeah, exactly. That would help us out if anyone actually wanted to work out outside right now.
Rain or shine, how dedicated are you?
Yeah. So that's going on. I think things are starting to kind of go back to normal, and kind of as we go back, I think, you know, gyms are going to be opening soon and people will be able to start getting back to the normal equipment that they're used to, and they'll be able to start kind of getting more regular with their programming. And, you know, some people will probably still keep their home workouts in there. But, you know, what we wanted to talk about today was the difference between, you know, we coach athletes and we coach like life athletes, or just like everyday business people, you know, just, you know, people trying to get a workout. And we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between people who are just trying to go in and get a workout versus how athletes program their programs. And we're just going to kind of talk about the benefits of that and kind of go into it.
Well, one thing that I think is important to mention is what you were saying. It was like people are going to start going back to the gym. Is that people got to remember that we've basically had like 2 months off of real workouts and not go back to like trying to smash the way you were.
Oh, you got to go back way lighter, I think. You know, like phase back in. What I would almost do is like take a week or two where you do like 50% of your max or 75% of what you were doing before, and then and just lift at that for a week or two just to get your joints, your tendons, your muscles, especially like back squat, deadlift, to get your back used to it again. Lift it up to heavy weight, start real light on, and take extra time for warm-ups.
Yep.
That's the big thing that I think I'm going to suggest to people is, you know, going real light, going through like 2 or 3 extra sets than you normally would, just get your body back to moving. Because I think a lot of people are just going to go in there, oh yeah, you know, I'm just going to jump back in there, throw like 80% of my max on for a warm up, and then just go up from there. But you're going to end up real sore. Probably going to be a lot of injuries of people going back to the gym and getting a little bit more load than they're used to. So that's the big thing, is you got to try to worry about managing that. And I think the other good thing is, like, you could see this kind of as starting fresh, and you could take some measurements. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about with the athlete programs versus like the average person's program, is that, you know, athletes are going after a very like a programmed result, or a very like objective result, right? Like they want to be able to squat this much, they want to be able to bench this much. And so I think that, you know, we've been talking about the benefits of like knowing where you are. Like I just went out and timed my mile just because I want to see if what I'm doing is actually making an improvement, right? Because like we know that body weight is not always the best like measure of if your fitness is improving, right? Like a lot of people are like, hey, I just want to work out to get more fit. Well, what does that mean? You know, like then you have to be able to test that objectively. Otherwise you don't know if what you're doing in the gym, you're just hoping that it works. And so I think the first thing that I recommend people do when they get back into the gym is like figure out where you're actually at on some things. Don't be afraid to, oh, my time is going to be slow on the mile. Like who cares? Like figure out where you're at now. Cause then when you start back on the treadmill or your program, or running outside or doing your squats and stuff to make that, to lower that time, you at least know how much you're lowering it by.
It's like blew my burp right in the mic. No, yeah, I agree. I think, and we're not saying like, oh, let's go smash and test all our maxes, 1 rep maxes. But I think we don't keep track of where we're at. And number one, that probably hinders our progress
Mhm.
because you don't really know. When you don't know why you're doing something, you don't give it your full effort. But when you show up to the gym and you're like, I'm doing X, Y, and Z to get my squat up and get stronger in that,
Mhm.
like it's a lot easier to dedicate yourself to that
Yep.
process.
Yep.
You know, so that's something that's going to just help improve your overall performance.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when I was in college, you know, we had a lifting routine. Out of season, we were lifting 4 times a week for track. In season, we were lifting 3 times. And we knew we had all our maxes written down, and how our program was is just a standard pyramid, right? Like you start at like a high rep, like 15 to 20, that was like a week. And then you went into like the 10 to 15s, that was probably like 2 weeks. And then you went into like the 6 to 12s, and that was another 2 weeks. And basically you went all the way up to like, you were getting down to 5x5s and then 3-2-1s and things like that. And then eventually you just hit your max week. And you don't really, as a just an ordinary person working out, you don't really need to hit those max weeks, but you should still program your workouts that has some type of like method to it to improve whatever you're trying to improve. So for us, we knew that, okay, we're going to get tested in the squat, in the power clean, in the bench, and all these workouts, we've got to go really hard on them. Otherwise in 12 weeks, we're going to measure it and we're not going to see the improvement.
Yeah.
And so like, I feel like when you have that pressure to improve, like I've got my mile time now, and I'm like, okay, well now I actually have to really start going out and running a lot so that next time I try this out, I'm not like just as slow in the mile. Cause then like, what did I work out all of those workouts for?
Yeah.
You know, it gives you that motivation. It's just kind of like, it's like what we talked about with the external motivation, like the fact, like I keep on, like in my mind, I still think I'm running a triathlon in August, and I'm like, oh damn, I got to go start riding my bike. I'm like, wait, hold on, we're not running the triathlon, but it's been good because I've been running way more these past few weeks. But it just gives you something to try to work towards, versus just like kind of aimlessly going like, I think I'm getting better in some areas. Like, you know, it's like, well, test your pull-ups, like, try to do as many as you pull-ups you can, then do a bunch of back exercises and see if you do more.
Well, I think most people's goals who aren't in sport are aesthetic.
Yeah.
And those are just so like, it's just so difficult to really measure that progress
100%.
over time.
Yeah.
You know, like
unless you're really willing to do like before and after pictures, which is interesting because the majority of people that I talk to, at least, that are after aesthetic goals, don't want to do the before and after pictures.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well,
that's what
how
I'm
do
saying.
You know if aesthetically you're getting better?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like on a weekly, monthly basis, it's so hard to really like be satisfied with those results and then even track those results.
Yep.
So instead, if you give yourself these other strength objectives, inherently, like they just go hand in hand typically, right?
Yep.
If you're making all this progress, getting stronger and faster, like you're probably looking better too. You know,
100%.
Like, you may not notice it, but I'm sure you're going in the right direction.
And that's why, like, you know, a lot of people rag on CrossFit, and we've talked about it multiple times, but at least the thing that they know is like they have their times for certain workouts. Like they have these workouts that they've repeated before, and they know how many reps they've done. They know how fast they've been able to do it. They know like generally how many like I can do this many calories in this time. I can do this many burpees in a row, or like whatever. Like they just know these different statistics on what they can do. And that's kind of when I started to get into like when we were working over there at Pandora trying to get a muscle up.
Yeah.
I was like, I have a specific goal. I need to now. I know I want to get a muscle up. So what do I have to do? I have to improve my shoulder mobility so I can get a better swing. I have to stretch my back out so I can get a better extension on my kip. Yep. I need to work on pull-up strength. So I need to do a lot of like lat pulls and things, and like rolling motions in general. Yep. And then I got the, you know, with some work a couple weeks in, got the muscle up. So it's like, you know what you're trying to work on so you can go harder at that. And I think if you're out there and you're trying to, you know, design a workout, you're trying to get a workout in, you got to create some type of like standard to measure your success against. Cause like, if it's literally purely aesthetic, you're never gonna I feel like you're just not going to get that joy of like, oh shoot, I hit an intermediate goal.
Like, well, look at it.
Cause like usually aesthetics is like, you're either super happy about your body and super lean and looking good, or you're like you're not happy about that. You can't, it's like hard to be happy about the process of seeing little aesthetic changes.
Exactly.
Because most people like this always happened to me, like where I'd see someone and then like 3 months later I'd lost weight, and I've seen someone again and like, oh, you lost so much weight. And I'm like, have I? Like I haven't. You just don't, you can't notice it. You get used to seeing yourself in the mirror every day. You don't notice the changes that happen. And that's why aesthetic goals are so hard to hit, is because you look at yourself every single day in the mirror.
Yeah.
So like the change you see is so slow that it's like the only way to do it is before and after picture, like 12 weeks. But a lot of people, like I said, don't want to do that, or, you know, whatever. But
whereas performance doesn't lie. Like you either did it or you didn't, you know, like,
and that's where I think the nutrition comes in, man. Like I've been better on my nutrition than I ever have been. And I literally only think it's because I have a goal now. I have a goal of a protein. I have a goal of a calories. When it was just like, hey, just generally try to eat better. It's like,
what does that mean?
Like how much of the time, or like when, like, and like what's,
and then you justify
what's that much better? Like, oh yeah, I ate some spinach earlier. I could eat some French fries now. It's like, now I've like, okay, I have to stay at this 2200. Max I can go up is to whatever the 400 calorie deficit is, 26 or 2700. And then I'm like, I got to keep my protein up to, you know, at least 170 towards like 195. So I've got to keep these numbers in my head where I'm like always trying to hit them. And now I'm like, I've got that motivation. And same with the running now. I'm like, I know what my mile time is. I'm like, dude, I can run a sub 6 mile. So I'm like, okay, now I've got that motivation to, like, when I don't feel like it, a couple times I've come home after a long day at work and I just throw my running shoes on, start running. And I think if I wouldn't have had that triathlon, or now the mile time that I'm trying to decrease, I don't think I would do it when times get hard. Yeah. And I think that's where those targets get you, is like when you don't feel like it, you're like, but if I don't do this, then I'm not going to get to where I'm trying to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And that nutrition, it's funny. It reminded me, I saw this picture of a buddy. He, like, in his story, he was like, been eating like shit lately, so time to change things up. And it was 2 eggs on a bed of spinach. And I was like, dude, what are you trying to do here, bro? Like 2 eggs in a bed of spinach, like trying to starve yourself? But that's like how someone would think.
Well, and
I gotta eat better, so here we go.
Yeah, it's like what, like
that's not like even
13
helping you.
grams or 14 grams of protein, or 15 grams, something.
And
low.
what, like 200 calories, dude? That's your meal? Like, come on.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the goal and you don't know, you're sitting there thinking, I'm doing this good thing.
Yep. So, but that's the big thing about, like,
same with fitness.
Yep.
If you're like, I'm trying to be more fit, and you don't have these measurements, you could justify anything as being more fit.
Like, oh, I walked today, but you're like, okay, well, if my goal is to squat heavier, or if my goal is to do more pull-ups, or if my goal is to run faster in a mile, then walking 10,000 steps is probably not really going to help that much. Like, it might, if you went fast enough, it might help with your base cardio, but not really.
Yeah.
Like, so then you start to go like, okay, this actually, anything I did not take me towards my goal. So like, what can I do to move me in those directions? And like you said, like, generally, like, let's say you can do 1 pull-up. If you can do 10 pull-ups in a few months, you're probably going to aesthetically look a little bit better, because you're going to have more muscle tone. You might have lost a little bit of weight that made the pull-up a little easier. So, you know, it's like you can equate those things to improvements, you know, aesthetic, you can, you know, and performance. It was just like when I was in track, it was like when I was jumping my best and I was running my fastest, I was at my leanest and my strongest. Right. It just was what it was. So like, if I hit those numbers, if I hit my body fat percentage, I hit my speed number, I hit my my strength numbers in the gym, then I was jumping the furthest I would jump. And that was like, that was the motivation. Right. I knew that's where I had to be. So it's like, it just drives you so much further when you're just not like, I just generally want to get more fit. That's just, you got to go deeper. And even if you don't want to squat more, maybe you just got to make that your goal to have something to start shooting for.
Well, I think it's like, find out, like, what I think is better than just like, if you don't have like this weight number,
yeah,
is kind of like we talked about, like, they like, what are the strength minimums? It's like half your body weight, and
in a
or it's like
squat.
Yeah, it's like double your body weight, 1.5 your body weight for bench and things like that. Like, find these markers, or maybe it's like 25 reps at
do 1.5
whatever.
for bench, 300 for me. God, that would be way too much.
Dude, you could do that if you really train for it. You could get.
I would be happy to bench my body weight, and I'd be really happy.
Your body weight, 200 pounds,
205.
Oh,
dude, my shoulders don't like bench at all. I'd be happy to be able to squat 1.5 times my body weight, 300. I mean, I don't really need to go up to 400 2 times my body weight.
Well,
I don't really need
strong,
to
man.
Yeah, no.
But I'm saying, like, it doesn't have to be that. That's like the general.
Exactly.
That's like the general. Like, you're a strong ass dude if you could do all those things.
Yeah, and that's probably good for most athletes and things like that.
Yeah. But you guys got to find that, like, maybe it's like, I want to do this 10 times or whatever, or like getting your pull up. I think,
dude, I've got a new goal based on this. So I just got done reading the David Goggins book, or listening to it rather.
5,000 pull-ups in a day, dude.
Well, it's crazy to think about what his pace was, because he does EMOMs is how he got all those pull-ups in. It's just like literally every minute on the minute he was doing 6 pull-ups. I think he did 6 pull-ups every minute on the minute for like 4 hours straight. That's a lot of pull-ups. So then the other day I did EMOM push-ups 10 on the minute every minute for 10 minutes. So I did 100. My chest is pretty sore today. And I'm like, I wonder if I could get strong
for
enough.
4 hours?
No, just an hour. I want to do 60 minutes straight. So I want to be able to do 600 push-ups.
Jesus.
10 on every minute on the minute. Like that.
Maybe.
I mean, I could just work towards it. I did 100. I did 100 pretty good.
Were you dying or
no?
You're just like,
didn't fail at the end of it. Like, I wasn't like at the end of because the way it breaks it down is like, that's why I think you did 6, because you never want to get to that point where you gas yourself.
Then you won't recover.
Exactly. So it was like, every time I was getting to 10, I was like fatigued by the end. Like my 100th push-up was like decently hard, but I probably could have gone for another 5 minutes. Probably good at 150. I'm like, could I get strong enough that I got to 600? Like maybe if I was lighter, more cardiovascularly fit, so I was recovering faster between. Like, it's just an interesting thing. So I think what I want to do is also just do a 10 rep EMOM push-up and to max, and just see how long? Once I failure, how long can I go until I fail? Yeah. And then I'm going to go back after we've been doing this diet stuff. I've been running, I've been working out, trying to get more fit. And then I'm just going to see how this evolves. Cause like, that's what happened with that other thing. Remember when we, before the other program we came out with, we had that, like, it was a max plank, max push-ups, max pull-ups, max body weight squats. And it was just like, the amount that I improved after that, like, training session, it was an 8-week block that we did, was so huge, which is so cool to see. And dude, I got so pumped up. If you guys aren't in our group, join the HIDEF community Facebook page. We had a month-long ab challenge where everyone did, it was the maximum
30 days, right?
What?
30 days, right?
30 days, but the maximum time per day was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all it took to do these abs. And it was a new exercise every day. And at the beginning of 30 days, we did a max plank. And at the end of 30 days, we did a max plank. And we did these just literally 5 minutes. Sometimes I do it at 9 p.m. at night before I went to bed. I just did these 5 minutes. My plank time went from like 2 minutes to like, it was well over 4 minutes, the longest plank I've ever done in my life. And I recorded the whole thing because I was like, that is crazy. And it felt so good to improve that much. Yep. And I don't really care about how long I can plank, but it just showed that all my work that I had put in over those 30 days made an absolute difference in my ability to plank. It didn't matter if it was mental toughness. Some of it was mental toughness because I learned how to get mentally tougher during the abs. Some of it was actual physical strength. Some of it was endurance. Whatever it happened, it significantly improved. Like, not even enough that you could be like, oh, that was just pure, like, you tried harder. Like, it was like 2 times as long. Yeah. And I remember getting tired. Like, I went past my previous market, like, with no fatigue. Yeah. And so it's like, if you could set yourself up with something like that all the time and you hit it, it just makes you feel so good. It's like that extra motivation. I'm like, oh yeah. And like, some people in the group are like, I'm going to do it backwards now for 30 days and see how much better I get. Cause I'm like, yeah, it's fun to see yourself improve. And like, so if
That's
your
it.
only goal is aesthetics and
You'll get burnt out because you
yeah,
won't see
even
it.
like just losing weight, you're going to get burnt out. Like you got to just have more things to go after than
Yeah.
just weight. It can't be the only thing.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just going to go like, oh, I'm down a pound. Oh, I'm plateaued. But at least if you plateau on weight, you could go, oh, but I did 10 more push-ups than I could do last time on my max.
But also, if your goal was really just weight loss and you like took the same approach, like what are the scientific things I do to gain strength,
Yep.
and you really just want to lose weight, like then why wouldn't you just sit in a sauna and
Yep.
like, you know, like then if you really broke it down, like that's my issue too, is like everyone has these weight loss goals and then they're doing all these things that aren't gonna directly cause that, and then they get upset, you know, like you going and lifting is gonna help you in the long run, but it's not like tomorrow gonna drop the scale.
Yeah. And I see weight loss as a byproduct of a lot more smaller goals that could be broken down. For
100%.
example, a calorie goal, a protein goal, some type of workout endurance or fitness goal, like a fitness test. Like
if your goal is to lose weight and then in 30 days you can run a faster mile, I bet that you lost some weight.
Yep.
I'd be willing to like it'd be hard.
Yeah.
Depending on where you start, but
remember back in the day, we talked about how we should do like the presidential fitness test or like what the beep test or whatever. I was like, that'd be a good one. Just run the beep test and then work out like super hard for like 12 weeks and then run the beep test again and see if you get better at it.
Yeah.
Because like there's literally, you could choose anything. Obviously, you got to choose something that's like somewhat relevant to like what, like if you're trying to lose weight, you probably shouldn't use your vertical jump or your broad jump like
your
that.
Max pull-ups
just won't make sense. But like, you know, if you string all of those together, if you're like, okay, I'm going to test max push-ups, max pull-ups, I'm going to test my max goblet squat with 50% of my body weight, I'm going to test my mile run. Then like if you can knock down all of those things, then likely you've reached towards your goals. But that's the benefit of thinking like an athlete. I think hopefully what I'm trying to get across here is that how we train all of our people is like athletes, because whether you're an athlete competing in a sport or you're a person competing in business or you're trying to become better as a husband or wife or parent, then you should be still like, why would you not use the same strategies that an athlete uses to maximize your time, maximize your effort, and maximize your results? Doesn't make sense why you would veer off something that we know works for the people who are actually using it for their profession. They're using these training methods. It's like, you've got to use what's best. You know, it's like the scientifically proven route, because even though you're not trying to perform better on the field, it's still going to help you with those other goals you're trying to hit if you're using the same approach that they use.
Yeah. I guess I would say I had 2 points. One was, I think it's important also for people to like know when they might have this goal in mind, but they might have to chase this other goal first. You know, kind of like with one of the people we're working with, is like they want to get so strong and get all these aesthetic goals, but they also have injuries. And it's like,
listen, that happens with people all the time. Like that's just like everybody we work with almost, you know?
Exactly. And I was going to explain my situation is like with my heel. Like I was like the other day, I was like, man, I've been training hypertrophy so long that I kind of started to lose a lot of my reactiveness. Like I was like, I want to go run some gassers, and I was like trying to plant and cut. I was like, fuck, I'm slow, man. I can't really like generate much reaction there. But I was like, but it also hurts. And I was like, I could go, you know, bash this out every day and probably get a little more reactive, but it's not the goal not the route you should go down. And I think that's what I see with a lot of people.
Or there's a smart way to go down that route. You just got to have the right like wellness and injury prevention program behind that. And just like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, of people not just going back to the gym and just going after it, because you're going to end up being super sore, like that soreness is really just going to turn into injury, because, muscle strains, things like that, because your body's not used to it. You've got to ramp up. And just like you haven't run speed, like if I went and tried to do some of the bounding workouts I used to do when I was in track, like I would trash my knees, my hips, my ankles. So I would have to like start with like some mini bounds or like a very modified program, light stuff, jump roping, like get my body used to impact and make sure my mobility was there and make sure my strength was there. So it's like, there's a lot of steps, like you said, like a lot of people's goal is like the end goal, but you've got to set intermediate goals in between and realize like we're still working towards that end goal, but we have to make these other things first. Like our other goal for you before you get to that goal of getting speed back would be like to get your mobility of your ankle and your heel so it doesn't hurt, or like to improve the mobility of your posterior chain, to improve like your ability to absorb impact. So we've got to start creating those kind of goals, so I would start you with like, some depth jumps and some hops and some jump rope and things like that to get a little bit of reactiveness in the legs, but not go straight to like full out cutting and hitting, whatever you're trying to do. So that's where I think people need to think about is like, what are some halfway points between like where I'm trying to go and where I am right now, or even less than that, break it down into even smaller pieces that you can knock off.
And I think that just goes to show even more the benefit of working with someone, because a lot of people might hear this, be like, yeah, I want to get a better mile time. And it's like, well, if you've never run before, now you're going to go run, or you haven't run in 6 years, now you're going to go sprint all out your mile, and you might get injured. Maybe you need to start with something more low impact, and when you work with a professional, they can see that and build that program for you to get up to where you need to be.
Yeah. And then also the other thing to think about, I was just thinking about it too, is you got to realize that a lot of people's expectation of the result is kind of skewed sometimes. Like think about like a really good like deadlift or something. They're jacked up when they get a 2.5 or a 5 pound PR, right? Because they're at that level of peak. It's just like me. I'm not expecting to go from a 7:45 mile to a 6-minute mile. Like I'm like, hey, maybe I can hit like a 7:35 or a 7:30, and then maybe I can get to a 7:20 or 7:15, and then I can work under a 7. Like I know this is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
And as much as I want to be as fit as I used to be in track, and I've got all these lofty goals, I'm like, I can't just get there instantly. I've got to set these smaller marks. And the other thing I think I see a lot with people as well is they're like, well, I used to be able to do this. Like, oh, when I was 25, I ran a marathon in 3:05. And I'm like, well, that was a long time ago. And you're essentially a different human now because of how much you've changed and how long it's been since you trained like that. So somehow you've got to let go of those like previous expectations of yourself, but still have them realize like with a growth mindset, say like, I could get back to like getting pretty close to that, but I haven't displayed the behaviors to be there for a long time. So I've got to just be content or like, satisfied with smaller, with making progress, but at a slower level or whatever.
Well, then, you also have to be realistic about your time and things like that. Cause I was thinking about it myself. I was like, all right, what do I got to do to get this? And what do I have to set aside? And then I was like, man, like number one, like with the NFL guys we work with, I'm like, I don't have the time all day to dedicate to this, whereas they do.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to.
You got to find your biggest bang for your buck items.
Exactly. Yeah. And be realistic, and then just understand, like, you don't. And like, this is a goal. You should work towards it.
Yeah.
But when you don't get it in 2 weeks, or when you are upset you can't spend 4 hours a day on it, like realize it's not the main priority. Yeah. But still continue to put some effort in.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about too, is like, now I'm just going to transition some of my, what would have been in the gym workouts out to the track so I can run some 200s, some 150s, some 100s, try to get some speed back as well. Yeah. But, and that's what you got to do is just, whatever you want, you just got to keep on adapting your exercise. But that's the same thing as like, you realize that goal is going to take you a while to hit because you don't have as much time to set aside as you used to set aside. Like when you used to be fast and and be able to do all that stuff. Like you spent a lot of time playing basketball also because you were like in college playing basketball almost every day and like for hours and going to class.
Football all the
Yeah,
time,
exactly.
like,
Didn't have to do anything else. But when you get busy, especially as a business owner or a parent or whatever, like when you get those kind of responsibilities, those are also going to be things that are going to cut into the how fast you're able to make it to your goals, you know? So
yeah. And another thing I'd say, because hear this so often now from, new people that approach us, want to work together, and then current clients, is like, don't be embarrassed about where you are currently at.
yeah,
Like I had someone there, like, want to start training, and they're like, I don't know though, because I'm embarrassed about how weak I'm gonna be, and I don't want you to like see me at this point. I'm like, this is why we're here.
that's literally, and that's an interesting thought too. Cause like, I mean, I could have been embarrassed about my mile time at 7:45. It's pretty damn slow, but I'm like, who cares? Like, it's like, okay, I was a college sprinter. First off, like I might be really embarrassed about my 100 time, but I'm also like, dude, I haven't trained it or anything like that. Right. What I'm going to be more excited about is to show people the improvements that I make rather than like, here's what my time is. Like I'm too nervous to post it out there because I'm afraid of it.
Yeah.
But you also at the same time, like, I think sometimes it's good to just have that slap in the face. Like, oh shit, like that's where I'm at. Like, I know a lot of people with that, like they haven't weighed themselves for a long time because they just don't want to see that number. I'm like, I know it's a tough process, but sometimes you just got to show yourself what actually is going on and be real with yourself. That's kind of like the calorie numbers, man. Like when you start to count your calories and you're really strict on it, you go, holy shit, I'm eating that many calories. It's like that slap in the face sometimes that you need to like get your ass in gear and start working towards what you're trying to work towards.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to just be like willing to do that. Otherwise you're just prolonging the issue. And it's like, I mean, I probably get embarrassed sometimes too, or afraid, like, oh, I don't have a 405 squat right now.
Well, I was about to say, when we're about to go work out and try to squat next to our NFL guys is literally pitiful. I'm
like, I don't know. Dude,
I'm going to warm up with 135 and I'm going to probably max out about 205 or 225 today.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that for 5.
But I always remind myself what you said is like, I have not been trying to do this. And even then though, like, because I was thinking if I should even say that, like, I still don't want it to be embarrassing if I put a lot of effort into that and I still don't squat like 500. Like, I think just be proud of like the gap that you create, like where you start and where you get to, like,
for sure.
That's it. Like if you're growing, you should be happy.
Yeah.
Like if you're making progress in any way, like just be excited about that. Don't then worry like, yeah, but it's not that much.
Yeah.
Or yeah, but look at what he did.
Yeah. And the weightlifting thing's always been funny to me too. Cause like I think the max I've ever squatted was 335 or 340. But I was also a 2-time state champion, long and triple jumper, one of the fastest guys in the state. Is a Nike top 10 All-American. And I didn't squat even close to what probably a lot of those guys were squatting. But like, at what point did that matter for me? I obviously didn't, because I was able to do what I needed to do. So that's the other thing is like, I think there's a lot of people who are super strong that aren't functional with it. I hate when people get caught up in their numbers, especially people who are like average lifters who are just like in there to get stronger for something else. It's like, well, don't get too hung up on your numbers in the gym and get embarrassed by it. Cause like at the end of the day, what is it going to help you if you squat 600 pounds? If you can't transition it to something else, then there's not a whole lot of benefit to it. You can post that number up on your social media and feel good about it. But like, unless you're a power lifter, then your number really actually doesn't matter that much. If your knee is blown out and your back hurts from doing it, it's like, you got to also understand those kind of things, like the risk reward and things like that. But
then also if you typically what I see is when you get away from chasing that and you just go towards making progress and working hard, typically like those numbers do become kind of impressive for you.
Oh, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the people who are always chasing those things that I see like probably get hurt
Yeah.
and don't actually get the progress because they're always like questioning what they're doing.
You know what I also see a lot of times too is like the people who are chasing the numbers on in the weight room are typically taking shortcuts by changing up their technique, compensating, not going the same depth, whatever,
Dude,
because
I
they
hate
just want to
that.
be able to say that they lifted this weight, but they're not even doing it right. They've defeated the entire purpose of trying to get stronger and move this weight. Like, I mean,
It's like the sumo deadlift to me.
yeah.
I mean, it's still a tough lift, but I see people like take the widest stance possible and like literally just like
Yep.
flex their.
I know, just straighten out their hips. And that's what I'm like, okay, if you're a power lifter and you're doing it for a sport, then that's fine. Like, you find the ways, but like, don't use a bodysuit if you're like to bench. If you're not like, what's the point in benching 450 with a bodysuit when you could just, let like less weight on your joints and do it the right way?
Exactly.
That's what's always been interesting to me is like the people who are chasing those numbers, like don't always do it in a way that's going to be healthy for their body. And then, like actually stays true to what they're actually trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because, I've been in the gym and you get set up on the squat and you're next to someone who's squatting they're same size you and they're squatting 2 times your weight. It's like, you just got to go like, dude, this person has literally no idea what I've been through injury wise or how I feel or, like whatever this is. Like for a while when I had that really bad tendonitis in my shoulder when I was in college, it was like, I ended up going from, benching or, dumbbell bench well over 100-pound dumbbells to like, I was doing like 30s because my shoulder hurt. It's like, no one can see your pain, but it's like, if you like, for you, if you go to the gym and you've had a recent disc injury, like you're not going to go load it up, but like, you got to realize, like, don't judge yourself because everybody's working through different things.
Yeah.
And they're probably feeling the same insecurities that you're feeling in the gym when they're lifting heavy weights because they're looking at the next guy and that person's looking at the next guy.
Yeah.
So it's always like,
I always just try to look back at my process.
yeah,
Like rather than like, oh shit, I'm not lifting that much. It's like, well, what have I been working towards?
yeah,
And if I've been working towards lifting a lot and I'm not still, okay, well, I should probably figure that out. But if I look back and I'm like, well, I haven't like really prioritized that, like, then why is this an issue for me?
Yeah.
And if it is an issue for me, you're so upset about it, then all right, let's work towards it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to check yourself of why you're feeling that way.
For sure. And the other thing about like feeling insecure about your lifts is that, like, when I think about I've never sat in the gym and judged someone for lifting lightweight. The only thing I've ever judged someone is for doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And it's usually the guys who are trying to do too much and do something stupid. I'm like, I'd much rather, like, I wouldn't even think of someone that was dumbbell benching 10 pounds, 15 pounds. Like, okay, that's what he does. Like, he's just not working. He doesn't want to like bump up the weight. He can't do it yet. Maybe his shoulder hurts or whatever. I don't even think twice about that guy. But the guy who grabs the 150s and is going down an inch, I'm like, well, that's the guy that's going to stick in my mind. So I think that's most of the people in the gym. Like, so realize that, if you're lifting lightweight, no one's probably judging you. It's just don't do something stupid to try to look good in the gym. Then someone's probably going to be judging you using equipment weird. And
I'm more so looking at how does the person control it?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, if they're so light and they're just like flying the weight around, like, all right, like, you should probably get some more weight. But if then they're, like you said, throwing their bicep curls back and forth, like,
one, it's the same thing too that I think about for the people in the gym that are trying to lift all this weight to be impressive to the other people in the gym. Like, why are you doing that? Like, what's the underlying thing that you're trying to accomplish with, like, trying to impress a bunch of people that you don't know, that you'll never talk to in the gym, that won't, like, I think back to working out LA Fitness. I can't remember one person there specifically by face, and I can't remember anything what they would have lifted. So it's like, if your only motivation is to go in the gym and impress a bunch of people with how much you lift, despite having shoulder, back pain, knee pain, or whatever, that's not a good way. If it's internal, like, I understand, like, it feels good to be strong. Like, it's nice to go into the gym and crush some heavy weight. Like, it feels good to yourself, but you've got to audit that and make sure that, like, what you're doing is for yourself and not for others. Because if what you're doing in the gym is to impress other people, you're never going to be satisfied. It's never going to, like, be an enjoyable experience for you.
That reminds me of, is I saw someone say, like, if you have something you want to do and you don't do it because you're afraid of what people will think, they're like, basically you're saying that other people's opinions matter more than your own or what you want to do. And I was like, that's interesting, man, because like, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's, and I think that's something to think about too, is if you're afraid, like, what is someone going to think? Maybe it's like starting your fitness journey or posting what your times, like, you think like these people who you don't even know and will never talk to, their opinion is more important than whatever it is that you want.
Yep.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of, like, people, like, and the closest people to you will support you probably 100%. Like, like if I posted my 7:45 mile, you would never jump on and be like, oh my God, it's so slow. You'd be like, all right, well, let's see where you go. Like, I'm excited to see how this turns out. And that's kind of how that's the fun about the HIDEF community Facebook group, is like, everybody's just kind of supportive in there. Like, no one, and we wouldn't allow it anyway, anyone to judge, like, oh, you only planked for 1:30. It's like, yeah, we've been impressed with some of the guys who've gone friggin' 4:30 or 4:45. I'm like, whoa, that is crazy. But like, that's fun. But like, I was also just as impressed by some of the people who started out at a minute and went to 3 minutes. I'm like, that is crazy. You just tripled your time. That is insane. And so that's like the fun. And if you're looking for a fun, like, accountability, like I said, the Facebook group that we have for HIDEF Seattle community is like, it's a pretty fun place to just get some fun challenges like that, and have fun with it, and not be in a judgment, in judgment of yourself or others within there. So
yeah, would highly recommend it, and I would highly recommend creating more goals for yourself and benchmarks to go off of.
Yeah, and that being said, we've got some online programs. The Build program, right now it's only $7, which will help you set up your workouts. That's through hidefcl.com/build. And then also, if you ever want to talk to one of us about how to set up your goals, or how to figure out what a good goal for you would be, like, we offer consultations for free, and then you also have the opportunity to work with one of us as well through personal training, nutrition, or physical therapy. So if any of you guys out there are struggling with that kind of thing, it's never like, the best athletes in the world have coaches, and they already know exactly what to do. So, don't be embarrassed to it's not embarrassing to get a coach, and, you don't have to work with a trainer for long term, but if you're just starting out, or you want to just, like, transform how you're working out, or set some goals for yourself, I highly recommend either you work with us or some other one, someone else in the fitness space that knows what they're doing and can get you on the right track to hit those goals. Cause otherwise you're just wandering around without any direction. You're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys listened to the episode with Martin Rooney.
Yeah.
Coach. It's came from the word coach, like a stage coach.
Yeah.
We're here to get you to a point.
Yeah.
And think of it as a learning process.
Yep.
Because, we worked together for a year, and you don't ever need us again. Like, you just paid for a year that's now paying for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It's like getting a degree from a university, right? Like, it's not like you lose the investment of working with a trainer. That's a good point, because I never think about people talking about personal trainers like that. Is like, you should be learning from your personal trainer enough that eventually you don't need them. You may want them to hold you accountable, and you might have fun with them. But like, if your trainer isn't teaching you a bunch of stuff and you need them the whole time you're with them, then you should probably find a trainer, because the whole goal is, like, you're making an investment in yourself. You're learning movements. You're learning how to exercise. You're learning about your body to the point where, over a long enough time, you've got enough information that you should be able to, self-sustain. And then maybe just get with a coach to do tune-ups or progressions or whatever. But
exactly.
Or like take time off, be able to take at least a year off or 6 months off and go through it. But That's a good point. I think you got to view it as an investment. And, you know, we're starting to see that health is just getting, like, we already knew, like, people were already getting way more healthy. Like, you know, 40 years ago, hardly any people went to the gym comparatively to now. And now with the whole COVID-19, we're starting to see the real true importance of being fit and being healthy, and your ability to, like, fight off disease and you know, be hardy against illness. So I think that, you know, now is the best time, you know, better than ever, to get your nutrition dialed in, lose that weight you've been wanting to lose, get your mobility back, you know, get that knee feeling good so you can go for walks and runs. So take care of yourself. I mean, you only got, like, I always used to say this, and it's just real truth. You only got one body. And, like, if you trash this one, you can't turn it in and go get a new one. Like, if you don't start to fix it now, it's just going to start to get to the point where it's going to be really, really difficult. So I always tell people, you got to handle it now.
And, you know, no understanding that all these areas, they are all intertwined. Like you said, like, I see, it's unfortunate. I see a lot of people like, I got to get healthy, so I'm going to start walking or running. And it's like, well, you have all these mobility issues, that your gait's messed up and now you're injured.
Yep.
So it's like, we've got to get everything dialed in.
Yep.
And there's no point in not starting all phases, or at least one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and that's where the benefit of, like, having a plan or working with a professional comes in, is like, you get started in the right way, so you don't just end your journey really quickly.
Yep.
You know, like,
Which saves you time.
yeah. If you were going to go out and climb a mountain, you wouldn't throw on some flip flops and some shorts, and, you know, you'd probably research how to do it, what equipment you need, the gear, what kind of conditions you're going to be faced with. Like, that's the stuff you need to get dialed in, is like, get all that information that you can get from a trainer, from a coach. And, you know, there's a ton of stuff online these days that you can get, that'll help you in that progression. But definitely set goals and try to hit those.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. Think we rocked it. Thanks. Had some good fuel with this 3D. I was feeling on point.
Yeah. The white can
Fueled us up. All right. See you guys.